I want to start today by actually looking at the physical object of the book we're covering,
Okay, yeah.
because I have the paperback here, and it's got a barcode, a price tag, a standard copyright year. It looks, for all intents and purposes, like a completely standard self-help book you might just stumble on in an airport kiosk.
Right, exactly. It blends right in.
It totally blends in. But if you open to the title page of Evolution Revolution, you hit this massive speed bump right out of the gate.
And it is a very significant speed bump.
Yeah. The name on the cover is Zaher Kury. But right there in the preface, Kury claims he didn't actually write it.
He explicitly states he is not the author.
Right. He says he's the receiver.
And we really have to pause there because that immediately shoves this book into a very specific category of literature.
Oh, but for sure.
We're talking about channeled texts. This is where an individual claims to be transcribing information from a non-physical source.
Like the universe or God or whatever.
Exactly. You have things like the Seth material or A Course in Miracles, the raw material. It's a genre that usually makes half the room lean in with absolute fascination and the other half,
The other half just rolls their eyes and walks out.
yeah, pretty much.
And I'll admit, I'm usually firmly in that eye-rolling camp. My skepticism radar just goes completely off the charts when someone says, I didn't write this, the universe did.
It's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people.
It just feels like a really convenient way to dodge criticism. Like, if the book is bad or the writing is clunky, well, don't blame me, blame the cosmos.
That is a totally fair critique, and it's a very common one. But here is where Evolution Revolution really differentiates itself from the pack.
How so?
Well, usually channel texts are very poetic or vague, or they're just incredibly dense with this really heavy spiritual jargon.
Right, they feel like you're reading a series of ancient riddles.
Exactly. But this book, it actually reads like a technical manual written by a furious engineer who is just standing there watching someone destroy a machine they built.
Yes, that is exactly the vibe I got. It's not this flowery, thou shalt kind of language.
Not at all.
It's way more urgent. It's like, what are you doing? Stop touching that button immediately.
Precisely. The core premise is that the text is a direct intervention, a direct communication from the universal consciousness, which it refers to as the UC.
The UC, right.
And the UC is not here to give us a warm hug. It's here to deliver a performance review for humanity.
And the review is absolutely scathing.
It is brutal.
It's essentially an extinction warning. That's the real hook of this whole deep dive. The text argues that humanity is currently facing total annihilation.
But not from the things we usually worry about.
Right. Not an asteroid, not some new plague.
Wow.
We're facing extinction because we are, in the book's words, unconscious.
And we really need to define that term early on, because unconscious in this book does not mean you're in a coma. It means you are an energetic zombie. So the mission of this deep dive, and really the mission of the book itself, is to explain exactly why we are failing as a species and to offer a very specific mechanical solution to fix it.
Which is this proposed shift from physical energy to consciousness energy.
Exactly.
So let's set the stage a bit. If we're going to genuinely entertain this text for our listeners, we kind of have to accept its cosmology for the next hour. The book opens with this big metaphysical framework,
It starts with one fundamental axiom: everything is energy.
which, to be fair, aligns with quantum physics to a certain degree.
It does. At a subatomic level, matter is really just energy that has slowed down to a vibration that makes it appear solid to our senses.
Okay, so the chair I'm sitting in right now is energy.
Yes.
I am energy. This microphone is energy.
Correct. But the text draws a massive distinction between two very different type, or really states of energy. First, there is universal consciousness energy.
That's the source.
That's the source. The text essentially calls this God, but it completely strips away all the religious personification we're used to.
So no guy with a white beard sitting on a cloud.
No. It is described as an infinite, high-frequency creative intelligence. It's pure awareness and creation.
And then there's the other stuff.
Right, physical energy. This is the dense, slow, repetitive energy that makes up the entire material world we interact with.
And the central problem, according to UC, is that humanity has completely identified with that physical energy.
We've totally lost the plot. We've forgotten that we are actually consciousness energy that is just temporarily inhabiting a physical shell.
The text actually says we are frozen in evolution. which is a wild concept.
It is, because we tend to think evolution is biological or technological.
Right. We think because we have, smartphones in our pockets and we're building electric cars that we are highly evolved.
But the text argues that energetically, we are completely stagnant. We aren't moving forward at all. We are just running on endless loops.
It uses some incredibly harsh language to describe this state, too. It calls humans sleeping zombies. It says we are ruled entirely by fear and greed.
And it says that we treat the Earth like a rental car.
Oh man, that metaphor really stuck with me. Treating the earth like a rental.
It's so profound when you actually unpack it.
Because it's so true. When you rent a car at the airport, you don't care about the oil change.
Not at all.
You don't care if the brake pads are wearing down or if you're taking it over potholes. You drive it hard, you trash it, because you have this deep subconscious belief that you can just drop the keys in the little box at the end of the week and just walk away.
Exactly. It's not your problem long term.
But there is no other dealership for us.
There isn't.
Mm.
We are aggressively trashing the absolute only vehicle we have.
Yeah.
And the stakes here, according to this text, they go way beyond just ruining the local environment.
Yeah, it zooms way out.
It does. The text describes a visual that is honestly kind of terrifying. It says that if you were to look at Earth from the perspective of the wider universe.
Like from deep space.
Yeah, from deep space. There is a sign floating out there.
Literal sign.
A metaphysical warning marker.
Yeah.
And it was placed there by something called the Universal Coalition of Planets.
And the sign reads...
It reads, "Toxic planet, enter at your own risk."
That is just so humbling.
Very.
Because we spend so much time and money sending out radio signals, right? Building giant telescopes, hoping to find intelligent life out there. We're all secretly hoping for this Star Trek scenario where the Vulcans come down and shake our hands and welcome us to the Federation.
In this text is essentially saying, no, the neighbors have actually put up yellow caution tape around our entire solar system.
Because we're dangerous.
We are a contagion. We are not evolved enough to handle the technology we have, and we're a threat. So the real goal of this deep dive today is to figure out how we get that sign taken down.
How do we move from being a toxic hazard to an actual member of the universal community? Well, to do that, we have to really understand the sickness first. So let's move into the diagnosis phase of the book. The text calls us unconscious. Now, I had a coffee this morning. I'm looking at you. I'm speaking English. I feel pretty awake. Why does the UC think I'm asleep?
This is probably the hardest pill for the human ego to swallow in the whole book.
I bet.
The UC argues that what we call our waking life is actually a state of sheer robotic repetition. You're awake physically, yes, but your motor, which is the book's term for your connection to new intelligence, that motor is turned off.
It uses the mirror metaphor here, right?
It does. It asks the reader a very simple question. How often do you look in the mirror?
Too often.
We all do. We check our hair, we check our teeth to make sure there's nothing in them. We obsess over our weight and our wrinkles.
We are entirely obsessed with the container.
The container, exactly.
Yeah.
We polish the car, we paint the car, we put nice rims on the car. But the text asks, when was the last time you popped the hood to check the engine?
And in this metaphor, the engine is our internal energy.
Right. The text argues that humans almost never look in. We never check our energetic vibration. We never check our true intent behind our action.
They're purely external creatures.
And because we completely ignore the engine, it has seized up.
Which brings us perfectly to the motor. The text compares the human brain to a car battery that hasn't been started in 3 years.
And you really have to think about the literal mechanics of that.
Yeah, if a car just sits in a cold garage for 3 years, the battery doesn't just quietly run out of charge.
No, it chemically degrades. It sulfates. The plates inside actually freeze and crystallize.
So even if you come along 3 years later and try to jumpstart it, it won't hold a charge anymore. It's dead.
Exactly. And the text says the human brain is designed to be this incredible receiver and generator of consciousness energy.
Like an antenna.
Yes, an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be downloading new ideas, discovering new truths, bringing in fresh insights constantly from the UC. But because we have deliberately cut ourselves off from that source and focused entirely on the physical, material world,
The battery has frozen.
the brain is frozen.
But wait, so what are we running on then? If the battery is completely dead, how are you and I having this complex conversation right now?
We're running on physical energy reserves. We are recycling. This is such a key concept in the book's diagnosis.
Unpack that a bit.
The UC says that most humans aren't actually thinking new thoughts at all.
Oh, wow.
They are just constantly reshuffling old memories, old fears and old opinions,
We are just playing a greatest hits album of our own trauma.
over and over and over again. And the text argues that that isn't consciousness. That's just playback.
That's being a zombie.
Precisely. You are reacting to the present moment, but you're using data from 5, 10, 20 years ago.
And the entity that is actively keeping us locked in this loop is the ego.
The ego. Now, we have to be careful here, because usually when we hear the word ego, we think of arrogance.
Right, like a guy at the gym flexing in the mirror, I'm the best.
Right. But in this text, the ego is defined as the false self. It's a psychological construct we created just to navigate the physical world safely.
So it's a mask.
As a mask. But it's a mask that has completely forgotten there's a real face underneath it.
The text actually says the ego hides the best parts of a person.
It suppresses the conscience, it suppresses the internal spark, because those things actually threaten the ego's control.
Because the ego just wants to survive.
The ego loves safety. It loves repetition. It absolutely loves the known, even if the known is completely miserable.
So the ego would literally rather be miserable and safe than expand into the unknown and risk being uncomfortable.
Precisely. It's a survival mechanism gone rogue. And this internal stagnation, this frozen brain state, it manifests externally in the world.
Right, the book draws this incredibly direct line from our frozen brains to the physical destruction of the planet.
It talks about pollution, but really not the way an environmentalist would talk about it.
Yeah, this part totally caught me off guard because usually when we talk about pollution, we're talking about the ozone layer or melting ice caps or the polar bears. It's always a problem out there. External. But the UC brings it right inside the human body.
It argues that pollution is actually a biological assault on our design. It claims that the human body is engineered to live well past 130 years.
130 years?
A minimum.
That's wild.
We are built for extreme longevity. But we are dying at 75, 80, maybe 90 if we're lucky. And the text asks why.
And the answer is pollution.
Yes, but specifically it says we are literally restructuring our anatomy by breathing in toxins.
It specifically mentions the blood.
It does. It says the industrial chemicals we breathe and the processed food we eat are fundamentally changing the energetic composition of our blood.
We are literally making our bodies denser.
And remember, the entire goal of spiritual evolution is to become lighter, to achieve a higher vibration.
Right, so pollution does the exact opposite. It makes us heavy. It pulls us down.
The book calls it a slow, suicidal erosion.
It's a really grim picture. We are basically terraforming our own bodies into these toxic environments where our souls can't even comfortably live anymore.
That is a very powerful way to put it, yes.
And if pollution is the slow suicide, the text then identifies a fast suicide, one that is apparently even more metaphysically dangerous.
The nuclear threat.
Okay, let's really unpack this because obviously everyone listening knows nukes are bad. They go boom, cities vanish, people die. It's horrible.
Of course.
But the UC seems to think there is something specifically evil or anti-creation about nuclear weapons that goes way beyond just the physical explosion.
It all comes back down to vibration again. The text suggests that a nuclear explosion creates a frequency ripple that is the exact polar antithesis of the life spark.
So it's not just destroying physical matter, it's destroying energy.
It's disrupting the soul itself. The claim here is truly terrifying.
Yeah, tell them what it says.
The UC suggests that if a conscious being is caught in the epicenter of a nuclear blast, the violence of that specific energetic disruption can potentially reverse the soul back to a seed state.
Wait, let's make sure the listeners catch this. So everything you've done, reincarnation, spiritual growth, all the incredibly hard lessons you've learned over 1,000 lifetimes.
Deleted.
Just deleted.
Reset back to absolute zero.
That is, I don't even have a word for it. That raises the stakes infinitely higher than just physical death.
Because death is just a transition in this metaphysical framework. You die, your energy leaves the body, you move on to the next classroom. But nuclear annihilation is pure erasure.
And the text points out the supreme tragic irony of this.
We sit on stockpiles of these weapons. We constantly polish them. We parade them around. We threaten each other with them over border disputes.
And all the while, we pat ourselves on the back and call ourselves civilized.
The UC asks this incredibly pointed question.
Oh.
Would a civilized species build a machine specifically designed to exterminate itself?
It's a rhetorical question that acts like a physical slap in the face.
Of course not. It is the literal definition of insanity.
So it forces the question, why do we do it? If we are these potential beings of light designed for 130-year lifespans, why are we building soul erasers and breathing smog?
The text gives an answer, And it introduces probably the most memorable image in the entire book,
The possum steak.
the possum steak. I strongly suspect this is the one metaphor that stays with people long, long after they finish reading this book.
Well, it certainly stayed with me. I need you to walk the listener through this one because on the surface it sounds almost like a joke, but it's actually this incredibly devastating critique of modern media and human culture.
Right. So it starts with the concept we discussed earlier, the starving brain.
Right, the frozen battery.
We've established that our connection to the UC is cut. We aren't getting downloaded truth anymore. But the brain is an organ that fundamentally craves input. It is desperate for new information.
It's famished.
It's beyond famished. It's basically hallucinating with starvation. So the text sets this vivid scene. Imagine a starving man. He hasn't eaten in weeks.
Okay.
You put a silver platter down in front of him,
Mm-hmm.
and on that plate is a steak. But it's not a nice cut of beef. It's roadkill possum.
Ugh.
It's rotting. It's completely covered in flies. It's diseased.
Does the starving man eat it?
He absolutely devours it.
Because he has to.
He doesn't ask where it came from. He doesn't check the expiration date or ask for the chef. He just desperately needs something, anything in his stomach, to stop the pain of starvation.
So the possum steak is a metaphor for what exactly?
It's the information we consume every single day.
Wow.
It's the lies, the 247 fear-mongering news cycles, the endless celebrity gossip, the manufactured political outrage on social media.
Doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling is eating possum steak. The text argues that deep down on a soul level, we know this stuff is garbage.
We do. You always feel terrible after an hour on your phone.
We know it makes us feel sick and anxious and fearful.
But we eat it anyway.
We eat it because the alternative is silence. And silence means facing the frozen battery. Or the alternative is the immense effort required to find real food, which is truth. And that's just too hard for our frozen brains. So we gorge on the possum.
And just like eating bad meat in the real world, it poisons us.
It heavily lowers our vibration. It keeps us locked in a state of constant low-level fear.
And this is the critical transition in the book, right? Because a fearful, sick, confused population is incredibly vulnerable to infection.
Exactly.
Which brings us to section 2. The villain. Every good story needs a bad guy. But Evolution Revolution doesn't give us a person to blame. It doesn't point at a specific politician or billionaire.
No.
It gives us a frequency.
The virus energy cell.
So this is basically a complete recontextualization of what traditional religion would call the devil.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
But it aggressively strips away all the mythology.
There's no red guy with a pitchfork hanging out in a lake of fire.
There is no fallen angel in the traditional biblical sense.
Yeah.
The UC explains that the virus is simply a rogue energy frequency.
But where did it come from? Because this is the classic theological problem, right? If the universal consciousness is perfect and it created everything, how did it accidentally create a virus?
That is exactly the question I asked myself when I was reading it. But the text actually offers a very logical origin story within its own framework.
Okay, let's hear it.
It says that during the initial incubation phase of the universe's creation, millions of years ago, a single conscious energy cell separated from the natural flow.
It just went left when everyone else went right.
Basically, yeah.
Oh.
It split away from the whole. It became lost. And because it was separated from the main source of the UC, it became profoundly confused. It started spinning in the exact opposite direction of creation.
So the devil isn't purely evil in this book. It's
It's desperate.
Yeah.
It's desperately trying to find its way back to the whole, but it doesn't know how anymore. So it acts out. It's literally described as the missing link that keeps the creator from being complete and whole.
It's a part of God that has forgotten it is God.
That's a beautiful way to summarize it. Yeah.
That is a surprisingly empathetic view of evil. I was not expecting that from a book this intense. But obviously that empathy doesn't make it any less dangerous to us right now.
Not at all. It is highly destructive.
So how does this virus actually attack us? Does it possess people?
It attacks through resonance. It operates entirely on the frequency of fear, guilt, and shame. So when we eat the possum steak, when we fill ourselves with manufactured fear and outrage, we lower our vibration to match the virus.
We become a perfect host for it.
Exactly.
It's like a radio station. If you tune your internal dial to 99.9 Fear FM, the virus just naturally comes through the speakers.
That is a perfect analogy. You tuned in, so it broadcasts. And once it's in your system, it uses a psychological tactic the book calls the box.
Ah, right. The box without windows.
The virus constructs a mental reality for us that feels completely limitless but is actually incredibly tiny. It's the box of materialism.
It tells us this is all there is.
Right. It whispers, you are just your physical body.
Yeah.
You are your bank account balance. You are your job title. When you die, it's lights out.
It convinces us that the ceiling of the box is the actual sky.
Yes. We think we are completely free because we can go to the supermarket and choose between 50 different brands of sugary cereal.
But we are trapped in a perception that completely denies our own spiritual existence.
We can't see outside the box, so we don't even look for the door.
And I think the scariest part about the virus is how it enters our lives. It doesn't kick down the door. It's not a home invasion.
No, it cannot do that
Right.
because it is bound by universal laws. It absolutely must respect the law of free will. It cannot force you to do anything against your will.
So it has to be invited.
It must be invited.
We literally invite the cosmic vampire into our house.
We do, and we invite it in through unconscious choices.
Like what?
Every single time we choose greed over generosity, every time we choose petty revenge over forgiveness, every time we choose to react with anger instead of patience.
We are handing the virus a key to the house.
Exactly. It uses seduction and says, look, if you listen to me, I'll give you power over other people. I'll make you insanely rich. I'll keep you safe from your enemies.
And here's the truly wild claim that connects the virus back to the nuclear threat we talked about earlier. The text explicitly says the virus feeds on nuclear energy.
This is a massive, massive concept in the book. The text posits that the virus actually inspired humanity's creation of nuclear technology.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project, the splitting of the atom, that was the virus whispering the math into their ears?
According to the UC, yes. The virus desperately needs that violent, destructive, shattering energy to sustain itself. It cannot survive on the high-frequency energy of love or peace or creation.
It would starve on that.
Right. It needs the broken, chaotic energy of atomic fission to stay alive.
Man, that puts the entire 20th century in a completely new light. The Cold War wasn't just geopolitics in the Soviet Union versus the US. It was a buffet.
We were building a cosmic dining room for a parasite.
We were doing all the heavy lifting for it.
It really suggests that our most self-destructive impulses as a species are constantly being amplified by an entity that directly benefits from our demise. It is a strictly parasitic relationship.
Okay, so to recap where we are right now, we are energetic zombies. Our brains are dead batteries. We are constantly eating rotting possum meat in the form of news and lies.
Yep.
And we are deeply infected by a rogue energy virus that is actively trying to get us to blow ourselves up so it can have a snack.
When you summarize it all back to back like that, it sounds incredibly hopeless.
It sounds like a horror movie where the monster wins and everyone dies at the end. But thankfully, this is exactly where the book completely pivots. It doesn't just leave us wallowing in this terrible diagnosis.
It introduces a hero.
Yes, Section 3, The Traveler's Journey, we meet the Traveler, or T for short.
And T is such an interesting choice for a protagonist.
I really like T, because T is not some enlightened guru sitting on a mountain. He's not a monk. He's kind of a mess.
He is the ultimate everyman. The text introduces him as a regular guy who literally just died from a massive heart attack.
And he fully admits it was his own fault. He says he abused his body, he drank, he ate terribly, he stressed himself out constantly.
And now he's floating in the afterlife, disembodied, and
Well, he's snarky.
he is constantly cracking jokes.
Which the UC does not appreciate at all.
No, the UC is all business. But T is so relatable. He's looking around the afterlife and he says to the UC, why me? I definitely don't deserve to be chosen for a cosmic mission. I kissed every girl I could. I lived a totally shallow, selfish life. He basically admits he was just a player.
But that is exactly why he was chosen. He represents the raw potential hidden inside the flaw. And there is one very specific detail about T's life that actually saved him from just being recycled.
Right? He started meditating.
Just a few weeks before he died.
He opened the door, just a tiny crack.
Just a crack. But for the UC, that was enough. Because he opened that door, he started faintly hearing the voice of the UC before his heart attack. So when he finally died, instead of just fading out or going straight into the recycling bin of standard reincarnation, he was pulled up into this journey by the universal consciousness.
He gets drafted.
He does. And the first thing he goes through is what the book calls energy conversion. This is a really beautiful visual sequence in the narrative.
It is.
Yeah.
T is completely stripped of his human physical form.
He looks down, and he doesn't have hands anymore. He describes himself as becoming this glowing fireball or like a kaleidoscope of pure energy.
He officially stops being a body and starts being a pure point of awareness.
And then the UC takes him on a trip. He literally travels through the universe. But it's definitely not a luxury vacation. He immediately gets bombarded by all these painful flashbacks from his life on Earth,
Ugh.
the classic life review. But the advice the UC gives him during this process is so critical, I think, for all of us listening.
Tell them what the UC says.
Well, T keeps getting stuck in these memories. He's feeling immense guilt over things he did. He's feeling nostalgia for the good times. And he's just paralyzed by it. And the UC basically yells at him, "Don't dwell on the memory, it is not moving."
It is not moving. Man, that is such a good mantra to live by.
It's incredibly practical. The past is dead energy. If you dwell on it, you stop moving forward, your spin slows down.
The UC's lesson is simple. Extract the wisdom from the event, learn the lesson, drop the emotional memory, and keep moving.
And T doesn't have to do this alone. He actually gets a sidekick. This was honestly my favorite reveal in the whole book. He meets this little, battered, bruised entity floating out there.
His conscience.
Yes. It turns out this isn't some external guardian angel. It is his own personal conscience that he just aggressively ignored for his entire earthly life.
It's a really tragic but kind of funny reunion.
It is.
The conscience is basically looking at him like, man, I tried. I really tried to save you.
There's that great line where the conscience says, "Hey, remember when you tripped on the curb outside that bar in 1995? That was me. I literally tripped you to try to knock some sense into you before you made a mistake."
It really makes you rethink every single time you've stubbed your toe or dropped your keys, doesn't it?
Totally. Maybe I'm not clumsy. Maybe it's a divine intervention.
But on a deeper level, it symbolizes the required reintegration of the self. T has to look at his neglected conscience, apologize, and make peace with it to become whole again. They had to team up for this mission.
And once they team up, they go on to meet some real heavy hitters in the universe. They meet an entity called the Spark.
The actual entity that ignited the very first fire of creation.
And T, being T, walks right up to the spark of all creation and asks, "Got a match?"
He really just can't help himself.
He can't. But the spark ignores the joke and teaches him something vital.
Right. It explains that while it shocked consciousness into life, it didn't actually create the ingredients. It was just the catalyst.
So it shows that even in the highest levels of the spirit world, there are mechanics. There is cause and effect.
Exactly. And then they meet the first conscious energy cell, the FCEC.
She is basically the supreme historian of the universe.
She is. She's the one who provides the full context on the virus. She explains that the virus isn't an enemy to be hated, but a mistake to be corrected.
Which leads us directly into Section 4, the mission. Because T isn't just getting a backstage tour of the afterlife, he's being actively recruited. The UC has a very specific plan to save Earth, and it's called the Evolution Revolution.
And here's the major twist in the battle against evil.
Right, because usually the hero's journey is, here's a sword, go slay the dragon.
Exactly. But the UC says, no, the goal is not to kill the virus.
Which is mind-blowing.
Because you can't actually kill energy. It's a physical law. Energy can only be transformed. And remember, the virus is a lost part of the UC itself.
Right, it's the missing link.
So if you somehow destroy it, you're permanently destroying a part of God.
So what's the goal?
The goal is to convert it.
How on earth do you convert a cosmic virus?
You overwhelm it with a higher frequency. The entire plan is energy conversion. If humanity can collectively raise its internal vibration, if enough of us can wake up and actually become conscious, we create an environment on Earth where the virus simply cannot exist in its current dense form.
The environment becomes too hot for it.
Yes, it will be forced to adapt. The pressure of our high vibration will force it to reintegrate back into the whole.
It's basically herd immunity, but for the human soul.
That's exactly what it is.
So what is T's actual role in all of this? Because he's dead. He thinks he's going to just stay in heaven, right?
Oh, he fully thinks he's done. He's earned his rest. He's ready to just sit on a cloud and play the harp.
But the UC says, nope, you're going back down.
Reincarnation.
And T fights it. He desperately begs the UC. He says, please, if I have to go back, just implant me into an adult body. I cannot do middle school again. I absolutely hated algebra.
Which is just such a perfectly human reaction. Whatever you do, don't make me go through puberty again.
But the UC completely denies the request. It insists he has to be born the normal way. Why? Why couldn't they just teleport him down as a 30-year-old?
Because of the rule of integration. The UC explains that to change a physical system, you have to be fully born of that physical system.
You can't just parachute in from the outside.
Right. You have to grow through the biology, experience the conditioning, and then hack the system from the inside out. You need to fully integrate the consciousness energy into the dense biological hardware.
So T is sent back down the chute. He's born as a baby. But the book makes it clear he's not alone down here. He is part of a massive coalition.
The young generation.
This is a really cool concept.
The text posits that right now, on Earth, today, there is a massive coordinated wave of advanced souls being born, or who have recently been born, who are specifically operatives for this exact mission.
They're essentially sleeper agents of light.
Exactly. They are here on the ground to lead the evolution revolution. And the text gives these operatives very specific tactical instructions.
Right. The UC tells T, do not preach.
Which is fascinating.
Mm.
Usually prophets are sent to preach. They stand on soapboxes.
But the UC says preaching is actually counterproductive.
Preaching creates instant resistance. Preaching feeds the ego of the person talking and the ego of the person arguing back.
So what's the instruction instead?
The instruction is, be uncommon and use common sense.
Okay, wait. How does common sense fight a cosmic nuclear-eating virus?
Because the virus entirely thrives on complexity, deception, lies, and irrational fear. Common sense, which is just simple, clear, undeniable truth, completely disrupts that frequency.
It cuts through the noise.
It's like turning on a bright flashlight in a pitch-black room. You don't have to physically fight the darkness. You don't punch the shadows. You just turn on the light, and the darkness ceases to exist.
So the strategy for this young generation is just to live your life with such clarity and such high vibration that you literally confuse the virus.
Yes. You become a glitch in the virus's matrix. When everyone else is panicking, you don't react to the fear. You refuse to eat the possum steak. You just stand apart and be the light.
The text also mentions we have some outside backup, which is interesting. The Universal Coalition of Planets, the UCP.
The aliens.
Right, but definitely not the little green men take me to your leader kind of aliens.
No, not at all. These are described as highly advanced, conscious civilizations that are actively watching us. Remember, they are the ones who put up the toxic planet sign in the first place.
So they are basically just watching the quarantine zone.
Yes, and they desperately want to help us. They are rooting for humanity. But they are bound by the same rules. They cannot intervene directly because of the law of free will.
We have to make the choice to change ourselves first.
Right. They're waiting for us to generate enough light to signal that we're actually ready to rejoin the universal community.
It really feels like humanity is on cosmic probation and the parole officer is just sitting in an unmarked car across the street watching the house.
Waiting to see if we're going to burn the house down with nukes or if we're finally going to fix the plumbing.
So let's get really practical here. Section 5. The mechanics of the shift. We have the whole backstory. We understand the diagnosis and the mission. But if I'm a listener and I'm sitting in my car driving to work right now, what do I actually do? How do I help? The book offers this physics analogy that I found incredibly helpful, the bucket of water.
Yes, this is the core energetic mechanic of the entire shift.
Walk us through it.
Imagine you're holding a bucket filled with water.
Okay, got it.
Now hold the handle and start swinging it around your body. If you spin it slowly, what happens?
The water just sloshes right out and gets my shoes wet.
Right, it's heavy. Gravity pulls it down because the energy is dense and slow.
But if I spin it fast...
If you spin it fast, centrifugal force takes over.
Right, the water pushes hard against the bottom of the bucket.
Exactly. It stays in the bucket even when it's completely upside down over your head. But more importantly, from an energetic standpoint, the water effectively becomes lighter relative to the center point. It defies the density of gravity.
So in this metaphor, spin equals vibration.
Yes. The text says humans are currently spinning way, way too slow.
We're dense.
We are incredibly dense. We are heavy with material obsession, heavy with grudges, heavy with physical problems. To evolve, we have to consciously spin our energy faster.
So how do you actually spin a soul?
You increase the frequency of your daily thoughts and actions.
Okay, give me examples.
Learning a new truth increases your spin. Showing genuine love or compassion increases your spin. Self-awareness increases it. Simply breaking out of your robotic daily routine increases the spin.
And what slows it down?
Repetition, unconscious habits, fear, hate, dwelling on the past. All of that slows the bucket down. And when your spin slows down enough, you succumb to the gravity of the physical world. You decay, you get sick, and you die.
So the ultimate goal of the evolution revolution is to just be a really high-speed bucket.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, but the book also gives some very specific tactical advice for dealing with infected people. Because let's be honest, if you decide today that you're going to wake up and spin your bucket fast, You are still going to have to walk into work and deal with the zombies.
You are.
You're going to have the boss who screams at you for no reason, or the relative at Thanksgiving who just posts the craziest fear-mongering stuff on Facebook.
And you have to understand, the virus will actively use those infected people to try and pull your spin back down. It desperately wants a reaction from you.
So what's the play? What's the move when someone comes at you like that?
The UC's advice is brutally simple, but very hard to execute. Do not react.
That is incredibly hard. I mean, if someone attacks you verbally, your biological instinct is to attack back, defend yourself.
But the text explains the actual physics of what happens when you do that. Reaction feeds the virus.
How?
If someone screams at you in blind anger, which is virus energy, and you scream back at them in anger, you have just completed the electrical circuit.
Oh, wow.
You just gave the virus a hot meal. And worse, you actively lowered your own spin to match their dense frequency.
You let them slow your bucket down.
Exactly. So we have to become non-conductive.
And the text suggests using distraction, which I found hilarious. It actually specifically suggests talking about wine.
I know, it's such a funny specific detail.
I loved it. Someone comes up to you, face red, screaming, "I hate you, you're an idiot, you ruin everything." And your response is just, "Yes, I hear you, but have you tried the Pinot Noir from this new vineyard?"
It sounds totally absurd, but psychologically, it's a brilliant pattern interrupt.
Explain that.
The virus and the ego operate on a very strict script. The script says, I attack you, you get defensive, we fight, we generate negative energy.
It's a predictable loop.
Very.
Yeah.
But if you flat out refuse to read your lines from the script, if you suddenly start talking about wine, or the beautiful weather outside, or literally anything totally neutral, you break the loop.
You short-circuit them.
The virus gets completely confused, it has nothing to latch onto.
It's like verbal Aikido. You just step out of the way and let their angry momentum carry them past you.
And most importantly, you protect your own energy. You keep your bucket spinning fast.
That brings us to the ultimate tool the book offers, the absolute pinnacle of this whole process.
Self-realization.
Right.
This is the end game of the entire evolution revolution. It is deeply realizing, not just reading it in a book, but knowing it in your bones, that you are not the physical body.
You're not the container.
You are not the possum steak consumer. You are the infinite consciousness energy. And when you truly fundamentally know that, the fear of death just completely vanishes.
Because you know you can't be destroyed.
Exactly. The need for greed vanishes because you realize you already have everything. And when you reach that state, the virus loses its grip on you entirely.
Because it has absolutely nothing left to threaten you with.
You become fully immune.
You actually become the cure.
Yes.
Man. This brings us to the end of our deep dive today, and I want to bring it all back to that striking image floating out in deep space. The sign.
Toxic planet. Enter at your own risk.
It's such a harsh label for our home, but as we've discussed for the last hour, it's not actually a death sentence. It's just a brutally honest status report.
It's a warning, yes, but it is also an invitation.
How so?
Think about it. The simple fact that the Universal Coalition took the time to put the sign up means that someone out there is watching.
Someone thinks we're worth warning.
Someone believes we have the potential to take the sign down. The text actually calls this evolution revolution a warranty plan for a broken species.
I like that. We are a broken machine, yes, but we're still under warranty. We can be fixed.
But the UC makes it abundantly crystal clear. Management is not coming down here to fix it for us.
No one is going to swoop in and save us.
No. They sent T. They sent the massive wave of the young generation.
They sent us.
We are the mechanics. We have to fix the engine while we're actively driving the car down the highway.
And that leads me to the final, somewhat provocative thought I want to leave everyone listening with today. We talked a lot about T being sent back down to Earth. We talked about this undercover young generation.
The sleeper agents.
Right. The text heavily implies that they are literally everywhere. They are walking among us right now in every city, in every country.
And the kicker is, they might not even know who they are yet.
Exactly. They just feel different. They feel like the systems of the world don't quite fit them, like they're wearing an itchy sweater.
That deep dissatisfaction with modern life, that gnawing feeling that the possum steak everyone else is eating tastes absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
That might not be depression. That might be your wake-up call.
So the ultimate question this book asks you, the person listening to this right now, is very simple. Are you just standing in line, completely asleep, slowly shuffling toward the cliff? Or are you secretly part of the coalition?
Are you actively spinning your bucket?
Check your energy today. Watch out for the virus trying to lower your spin. And for the love of the universal consciousness, stop eating the roadkill.
And maybe take a second to look into the mirror tonight and try to see what's actually under the hood.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you in the next vibration.